All right, today we're diving into the mind of a true modern titan. A guy who has completely dominated one of the world's oldest games like nobody before him. We're talking, of course, about the chess genius, Magnus Carlsen. And it all kind of boils down to a single number.
This number right here, 2882. Now, in the world of chess, that isn't just a score. It's a summit, a peak that people honestly thought was unreachable. Kind of like the 4-minute mile, but for your brain.
Yep, this is the highest rating ever officially achieved in the history of the game. Magnus Carlsen hit this mind-blowing peak back in May of 2014. By the numbers, it officially makes him the strongest player the world has ever seen. Period. So, the big question is, how? How on earth did one person just shatter the limits of what was thought possible in a game that's been analyzed for centuries? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go way back, right back to the beginning.
Because see, the thing about Magnus is he wasn't just some talented kid, he was a prodigy in the truest sense of the word. I mean, he was showing signs of a pretty remarkable intellect from an incredibly early age.
Get this, at age 2, he's solving 50-piece jigsaw puzzles. By 5, his dad teaches him chess, and his main motivation? Purely to beat his older sister. I love that. He enters his first tournament at 8, and then, at just 13 years old, he becomes a full-fledged grandmaster. I mean, the speed of that climb is just, it's staggering.
And his brain power wasn't just for the chessboard. No way. Before he was a grandmaster, he was a master of information. By age 5, he had memorized every single country in the world, plus their capitals and populations. But what's so cool is that alongside this unbelievable mind, he was still just a kid, you know? He loved building with Legos and reading Donald Duck comics.
So, as he hits his teenage years, all of that raw talent just explodes into this unstoppable momentum. He starts shattering one elite chess record after another.
At just 15 years old. Think about that. At an age when most of us are just trying to get through high school, Magnus became the youngest player at the time to blow past the 2600 rating barrier, which, by the way, is a level for a seriously strong international player.
And then, just a year later, he does it again. Crosses the 2700 rating mark, putting him in the territory of what people call super grandmasters. The chess world could barely even keep up with him.
And then comes age 18. He smashes through the 2800 ceiling. To put that into perspective, only a tiny, tiny handful of players in all of history have ever reached that level. Magnus did it before he was even legally an adult. His rise wasn't just fast, it was completely historic.
So, okay, he topped the world rankings, but here's the thing. Being number 1 on a list isn't the same as being the actual world champion. His next challenge was to go out and claim the ultimate crown.
And that moment of coronation, it came in 2013. He challenged the reigning champion, the absolute legend, Viswanathan Anand, and he beat him. He became the undisputed world classical chess champion. He was at the absolute top of the mountain.
But just becoming champion, that wasn't enough for him. In 2014, he did something nobody had ever done before. He didn't just hold on to his classical title. He also won the World Championships in the faster formats, Rapid and Blitz. Holding all 3 titles at once, the slow, the medium, and the lightning-fast versions of the game, proved he wasn't just the king. He was the king of all chess.
So we know what he did, but the real question is how. What is it that makes him so incredibly hard to beat? Well, the answer is in a playing style that's famously, almost frustratingly, hard to pin down.
You know, his former coach, the legend Garry Kasparov himself, gave us a fantastic piece of the puzzle. He said Carlsen's style is more positional, like the champion Anatoly Karpov, and not like the wild, attacking players such as Mikhail Tal. But honestly, even that doesn't quite tell the whole story. Let's break that down for a second. Think of positional masters, like boa constrictors, right? They slowly squeeze the life out of a game with tiny little advantages. Tactical wizards, on the other hand, they're like tigers, thriving on chaos and brilliant sudden attacks. Now here's the thing about Magnus. He's both. He can outgrind anyone, and he can outcalculate anyone.
That universal style makes him an absolute nightmare to prepare for.
And this really gets to the core of who he is as a player. When you ask him his favorite part of the game, he says it's the middle game. And why? Because that's where all the memorized opening moves run out. It becomes a battle of pure intuition, pure creativity, pure chess. He doesn't just want to beat you, he wants to outthink you.
But, to really get the full picture of the legend, you have to look beyond the 64 squares. Who is Magnus Carlsen when he's not hunched over a chessboard?
Well, it turns out he's a pretty fascinating and modern guy. He's a huge football fan, a die-hard Real Madrid supporter. He was even given the honor of taking the opening kickoff at one of their games. He's also a social democrat, tends to eat a mostly vegetarian diet, and he even did a modeling campaign for the fashion brand G-Star Raw with Liv Tyler.
But maybe the most perfect, most Magnus story that shows off his analytical mind has absolutely nothing to do with chess. It just comes down to this: first place.
That's right. In the 2019-2020 season, Magnus Carlsen took that strategic brain of his, applied it to football stats, and for a time, he hit the #1 spot in the entire world in Fantasy Premier League. He beat out over 7 million other players. It's a fun little fact, sure, but it's also just this powerful reminder of a mind that is just built to see patterns and find an edge in any complex system you throw at it.
Which really leaves us with this final fascinating question. When you've already climbed the highest mountain in your sport, when you've held every title, broken every record, and you're even topping the leaderboards in your hobbies, what do you do next? What new worlds are possibly left for a mind like that to conquer?